Hey everyone, welcome to Gimme Lemons. I'm Annie and today I'm going to share with you my method of making kimchi in small, manageable batches. If you've had any exposure to kimchi making, you know that it can seem quite a daunting experience in terms of time and the manpower needed, but this method keeps work down to a minimum and produces a clean, refreshing, and not overwhelmingly spicy kimchi. We'll start with a foundational ingredient for kimchi making, a coarse sea salt called 굵은 소금, which you'll be able to find in any Korean grocery store. We'll allow the salt to dissolve in some lukewarm water in 2 large bowls or an extra large container. In the meantime, prepare 1 large head of Napa cabbage by cutting through the root ends and splitting it in a very satisfying manner. Traditionally, these uncut quarter pieces are marinated whole, but I prefer to pre-cut them into bite-sized pieces for simplicity and easy access. And while I cut these, I'd like to share with you some clips from a fellow YouTube creator, Jafuri, participating in kimjang, a traditional kimchi making event that takes place every fall harvest in the Korean community. Not only is it a culinary event, but also a very social one. Family members, friends, and or neighbors get together to prepare up to as many as 100 to 200 epic heads of cabbage at a time. And at the end, they share a hearty meal together and take home a portion of the hard-earned kimchi to enjoy throughout the year. But for our tiny household, 1 head of cabbage is more than enough. We'll toss the cabbage into the brining liquid and cover each piece well before setting it aside for at least 4 hours, tossing them every maybe 30 to 60 minutes. Meanwhile, we'll make a quick anchovy or vegan mushroom broth for the porridge. This broth is totally optional, but I think it adds an extra layer of umami to the kimchi. Bring the broth up to a boil, then simmer for about 10 to 20 minutes. Then we'll strain it and bring the liquid back to a boil. Then add glutinous rice flour and a bit of sugar. Whisk it well until it becomes thick and paste-like. While the porridge cools down, we'll give the cabbage another toss. By the way, a good way to test if the cabbage is ready is to bend a piece near the stem, and if it snaps, it needs to brine for longer. Now we'll prepare the rest of the kimchi paste by roughly chopping up 1 onion and an Asian pear or an apple. Puree the pear or apple in a mixer or a food processor. Add the fish sauce or vegan fish sauce substitute, a tutorial to which you can find on my channel via the link above or in the description below. Add garlic and ginger and give it a good buzz. Then the onions. Finally, an optional ingredient, some fermented shrimp paste roughly broken down for an extra boost of umami. As add-ins to my kimchi, I like to cut up Korean radish or mu into relatively large pieces for crunch, and some scallions for color contrast. Now it's time to bring it all together. We'll mix the cooled porridge with the puree and gochugaru, the flaky, slightly sweet, and subtly smoky chili powder essential in Korean kitchens. Once the cabbage has given up enough moisture and has a nice bend without snapping, it's ready to wash and marinate. Give it a good rinse and a squeeze, then add it to the marinade along with the mu and scallions. I'm going to put on these requisite plastic gloves beloved in Korean kitchens and coat every nook and cranny with the marinade. At this stage, my mom would always give me a taste and ask what I thought, if it needed more salt or gochugaru. Today, it's perfect as is with a wonderful balance of saltiness, freshness, brininess, and a touch of sweet. Not to mention the beautiful color that comes from having just enough marinade so as not to overwhelm the cabbage. And now it's time to pack it up. I love these little glass jars with rubber stoppers to keep the kimchi from kimchifying the entire fridge. If you've ever stored kimchi loosely in your fridge, you know what I'm talking about. Pack the kimchi as tightly as you can into the jars, pressing out as much of the air bubbles as possible. Make sure to leave about ½ an inch of space at the top to allow for plenty of activity. Then I like to place the jars in a bowl or a tray to catch any juices that might overflow during the fermentation process. You can help the kimchi stay immersed in its juices by weighing it down with some jars or cups. Then let them sit happily with the lid ajar at room temperature for 1 to 3 days, depending on the weather. After 1 to 3 days, pack the kimchi down one more time and give the rims a good clean before refrigerating it indefinitely. Now it's time to try the kimchi with some piping hot rice. It's clean, refreshing, and already complex in flavors that will deepen and evolve over time. So, what do you think of making kimchi in this way? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Take care and see you next time.